All right. Azimio is back. Uhuru revives Azimio as a big headline on the front page of the Standard. Eyes on 2027. In a dramatic meeting, former President Uhuru Kenyatta jolted the Azimio coalition with sweeping leadership changes, sidelining Minority Leader Junet Mohamed, who had a very high rank in Azimio, and elevating Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka. The move signals a re-energized coalition, tightening ranks ahead of next year's elections. Observers say the shakeup marks Uhuru's return to frontline politics, laying the groundwork for a high-stakes showdown with President William Ruto. The story is in page 4, and people are asking, what exactly is Uhuru doing? You saw what he did with his own party, Jubilee Party. Last week they changed a few. They elected, actually appointed a new Secretary General. So Jeremiah Kioni is no longer Secretary General. I think he's a deputy party leader or something like that. Now you see, now he's going for Azimio. Yeah? He was a patron for Azimio. Now he's reviving it, removing anyone from ODM who had a high rank and now elevating other people there. This is a question. Will Azimio be Azimio without ODM? So that's the main story on page 4 of this paper. Page 5 also talks about Marjan, the sasa ni former IEBC Chief Executive Officer, alipoteza kazi, ilibidi resign. This was announced after a crisis meeting with commissioners that questioned his integrity, procurement decisions, and continued stay in office. But every other CEO of IEBC, 2 before him, have had to be forced out. Ezra Chiloba. Ule mwingine alikuwa anaitwa nani? Osogo. Yes. 2 of them have had to go. Same way. Hiyo kazi, kuna ile kazi unaambia wangu ukichukua hiyo kazi, jitayarishe kwenda nyumbani. That story about the CBK warning, the central bank warning, about kutumia currency notes kutengeneza maua is on page 3.
Imekufurahisha?
Hiyo page 3. Hiyo maneno yenu muache. CBK warning hits a sour note for Lovers Day. Hii imesaidia boy child sana.
Walisema wataanza kutumia dollars.
Hata dollars kwanza hiyo ndo mtakimbizwa sana. All right. Other stories, court bars Ruto's advisors again upholding sacking at salary rate. That is on page 6. Ile group ya kina David Ndii, akina Boynet, Monica Juma, all those advisors, wenye court walisema the appointment was not procedural. Sasa wakaenda kuapili, wameambiwa tuliwaambia it is not procedural, we are not changing. So those are the main stories on the Standard. On the back page, we talk about matters sports. Another quiet deadline day, not worth fighting for. This is an EPL transfer window that's coming to an end. I think imeisha sasa. Na watu wamehama kama ule Antoine Semenyo alienda Man City. Nani mwingine naona hapa? Wengine tu wameenda lakini hatuwajui. Either way, Arsenal walifika final ya Carabao Cup jana.
Team kubwa.
That's the Standard.
All right. People Daily. Parliament versus Cabinet. Grilling and session when the House comes down on the executive. Now, everyone here on the front page, kuna Opio Wandai, Edin Duwali, Rebecca Miano, Alfred Mutua, and John Badi pia kwa hapo, your Treasury, and of course Migos Ogamba. Grilling inaendelea hapo. These are the ministries and CSs who found themselves being grilled. Of course, Migos Ogamba because of education and the kind of problems that have been there. Treasury CS, huyu wa SHA, health, lazima angeulizwa. Tourism ndo sielewi kwa nini sana alikuwa nasumbuliwa. Lakini huyu wa labor, Alfred Mutua, remember the scandal about jobs abroad. So he had to be grilled a lot about that. I'm trying to open this story tuone ndani wanasema vipi exactly. Why, now hajatuwekea page today. When the House comes down on the executive. Anyway, tutarudia hapo kuangalia zaidi. It's here. As MPs inch closer to next year's polls, they have turned the heat up with intense interrogations where they demand accountability and implementation of policy decisions. Tumeuliza Rebecca Miano anafanya nini hapo, lakini tutakuja kuambia hapo kesho. Beyond politics, will Ida Odinga deliver for Kenyans at UNEP? Is a question they're asking on page 7. Kule juu, Maraga, Mwangi, and Omtata step up presidential bids. This is Boniface Mwangi. That's the People Daily, People and Politics.
All right, the big one is on the front page of the Daily Nation. What's happening to this IEBC? And this paper is light today. Kidogo sana. I think it only has about how many pages? 28 pages. This is interesting. So how IEBC boss fate was sealed. exit. Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Chief Executive Marjan, whose 5-year contract was due to lapse in March next year, with an option for renewal, left office prematurely last night following a crisis meeting of commissioners. Is the handling of the 2027 poll preparations behind his abrupt departure? So many questions. Will this affect preparations for next year's elections? And they also say that it's a revolving door for people who occupy this job, because 2 previous chief executives of the Electoral Commission were also fired. So let's open that story on pages 4 and 5. Tuone kunaenda namna gani. Less than a week after opposition leaders demanded his removal. Yes, walienda wakasema jamaa hatupeleki vizuri, imebidi atolewe. So could this change the game? The move announced in the evening brings a swift end to Marjan's tenure, with 399 days remaining on his contract, 1 year, 1 month and 6 days. But he's not the only one who has been removed. Ukiwa kwa hiyo kazi, au wengine kama, I think nani ilikuwa kubwa sana, Ezra Chiloba. That one, I think we overplayed it. It was such a big deal. But even before him, another person was removed, and it was, I think, Osogo. Yes. So Marjan sent packing is a big story there on the Daily Nation. Other stories: developers make millions from cheated home buyers. Now, hundreds of Kenyans, particularly those living abroad, are paying millions of shillings to real estate developers hoping to secure their dream homes or grow their investments, only to end up with empty thickets and protracted legal battles. Na kuna watu wanaendesha magari makubwa wakitumia hizo fedha zenu. So that's the other big story. Shortage of condoms and birth control pills hits public hospitals is a big one. That story is on page 8. Kuna shortage, and they attribute this shortage of condoms and birth control pills to the fact that USAID is no longer existent, the withdrawal of that kind of funding. So mahospitali mengi yameshindwa kustock up. The other story, na kama tumeona kwa Standard on page 3, CBK rains on lovers parade with warning against cash bouquets. Ukipatikana, usiseme huko wameambiwa. All right, so those are the main stories on the back page. Women rugby sevens. Lionesses star Okello brings international experience to her side as it eyes glory on home soil. We are ready for the show of our lives, stars vow. All right, that's the women rugby team. That's the Daily Nation.
All right, now this story, again, Rebecca Miano was being grilled over the decision by her ministry to facelift Bomas.
Okay.
4.5 billion shillings without Parliament's approval.
I get it.
That's what the story is about. Kisonga mbele, the star Ethekon kicks Marjan out of IEBC in major shakeup. Team cites a breakdown in working relations. We've talked about this story. It's been covered on almost all the pages today. It's on page 4 and page 5. Ex-KDF pilot among Kenyans recruited by Russia in Ukraine war is another story here on the front page. Na yuko hapa mbele, nasema against their will, Clinton Mogesa, a Kenyan who was recruited to Russia while he was in Qatar, a Kenyan only identified as Evans, was captured by Ukrainian forces, and David Kuloba and a Russian fighter at the battlefront in Ukraine. So these are 3 different people who are taken to the war front without, their will.
Right. We did a special story here in TV47 yesterday about a family that was informed that their kin had died. Na walijua tu sababu mtu aliposta ambie huyu alidai. Huyu ni kama ashaenda. Yeah.
Blood clot in lung killed assaulted Umoja gym trainer. That's the story on page 3. Kule juu, disabled women still locked out of sexual health care as they speak up.
All right.
That's the star.
Fresh, independent, different. You can grab a copy with only 60 shillings. Tunarejelea ile habari ya Azimio. Kalonzo achukua kiti cha Raila. Kinara wa Wiper ateuliwa kuongoza Azimio katika kikao kilichoongozwa na Uhuru Kenyatta. Rais mstaafu Uhuru Kenyatta amechukua hatua za kurejesha udhibiti wake katika upinzani kwa kumteua Kalonzo Musyoka kuwa kiongozi mpya wa muungano wa Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition, kujaza nafasi iliyokuwa ikishikiliwa na aliyekuwa waziri mkuu hayati Raila Odinga. Habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa 2. Je, Uhuru Kenyatta ana mipango gani? Anataka nini? Kilio hospitali zikikataa bima ya SHA ni habari nyingine kwenye vidokezo pale. Ramadhan Kwaresma kuanza pamoja. Wakristo wataanza kipindi cha Kwaresma Jumatano, Waislamu wakianza Ramadhan siku hiyo hiyo. Okay. Iran yaipa US masharti makali, ni habari nyingine pale chini. Lakini kule juu, amri serikali inunue mchele kwa lazima. Koti ya amuru serikali kununua mchele wote unaozalishwa nchini kutoka kwa wakulima kabla ya kuruhusu uagizaji kutoka nje. Na masuala ya spoti, City hawana pressure Carabao leo, wanahitaji sare watapokutana na mabingwa watetezi Newcastle. Atakayeshinda mechi hii atakutana na Wembley na the mighty Arsenal. Wale wanyonge wa Chelsea walirudi nyumbani wakilia. Niliona walikuwa na lia hivi kwikwi.
Finally, Business Daily, how payslips will change in Mbadi's tax cuts plan, and salaried workers earning below 50,000 Kenyan shillings monthly are set to enjoy income tax cuts of between 731 shillings and 2,127 shillings, under proposed changes to the taxation brackets aimed at boosting the disposable income of low-earning workers. Now, Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi says his ministry has prepared a tax laws amendment bill that will raise the threshold of untaxed income from 24,000 shillings to 30,000 shillings and have income falling between 30,000 Kenyan shillings and 50,000 Kenyan shillings taxed at 25%. That's a win. Now, income above 32,333 attract a tax rate of between 30 and 35% currently. Proposed pay cuts, 30,000 Kenyan shillings, change on your pay slip will just be 731 shillings, 35,000 shillings, 1,500, 40,000, 1,678, 45,000, 1,902, and 50,000, 2,127. That is for salaried workers earning below 50,000. Other quick headlines here. This is a different one from the NSSF, which is also set to take effect this month. Court backs carries push to tax unexplained bank deposits. Another story on page 2. And the ticker, Uganda, Tanzania profit from Kenya sugar plant closures, and a temporary pause on sugar milling in Western Kenya last year handed a windfall to factories in neighboring Uganda and Tanzania as traders turned to the regional market to fill a supply gap. Cooling inflation boosts Safaricom Ethiopia unit, and developers pose new projects for 2026. And that's the Business Daily.
All right, so those are the local dailies that we'll be looking at with this panel. James Gakuya, MP Embakasi North, Beatrice Selachi, MP Dagoretti North, and Kathy Rungu, governance expert, also an aspiring MP. Fanyamambo Kinothia, who's a lawyer and also an aspiring member of the National Assembly. I want to sample some of your feedback before we even take a look at the cartoons. An advisor, Pastor Emmanuel Barasa Manu, says, Sitila Bungoma, saini kwa Kitengela nafuatilia magazeti. Chelsea walidhani Arsenal ni rahisi. Only Manchester United can do it. Hata Manchester United hawawezi. Advisor skiza hiyo neno. Ndegwa wa Nyandarua, Nyamatamu Products and Butchery.
Wacha wewe.
Balozi Eric Meja, tuende nalo polepole, Seregea already locked.
Cristiano Michael, following from Makadara, Nairobi, hapo Dennis Street Road, watu wanaenda State House kupewa tokens. Kasema quote and quote aspirants. Huyu Jacob Singelebi umemtaja kweli. Anasema watching live from Congo Stage, Nairobi County. Thank you so much for watching. Shoshoa Gen Z. Hi to you too. Anasema hi Fred. Hi Anne, watching from Gilgil. Now continue interacting with us. But so far, being a Wednesday, we talk matters of the heart. Kuoga kurudi soko, healing or desperate comeback tour is a question you're asking. This lovely panel will be here alongside Councillor Dr. Julius Kimani for us to have this conversation later on. Tuangalie cartoonist wanasema vipi.